God made me strong, he made me brave. When I was lost and out of place, he shined a light down on my face. And I was saved, and I was saved. I found redemption in the skies. He wiped the tears out of my eyes. He showed my broken soul the way. And I was saved, and I was saved. I fear no more. I fear no more. I fear no more. I got God on my side. I got God on mine. I fear no more. I fear no more. I fear no more. Now shut it down. Watch me ball in the holy light.
I don't ever run and I don't ever hide. No amount of fear will leave me paralyzed. You try to kill me and that's something I can't set aside. If words are weapons, then mine are about to be weaponized. You try to turn me into someone I don't recognize, but the depression was a lesson that I memorized. And you gave addiction to my family tree, but it's a problem now cause the new standard is me. And I don't break, I don't fold, I take what is owed. I'll say it to your face, don't you play with my soul. You gave cancer to my grandmother, straight in the bones. If I ever get the chance, I'll put one straight in your dome. One for every single night that I cried when alone. I'll never let you set another fire to my home. I know that you try to break my spirit, but I got the heart of a lion, and I know that you can hear it like beating in my chest. No matter what you do, I'm not retreating like the rest. Bring your giants and alliance, cause I've seen it all before. Yeah, I'm ready for war, and when I'm done, I want some more. Make you feel what I felt. I'm here by myself. I walked through the fires and my skin did not melt. I was built for the pain. Look at me, how could you doubt it? I came for your head, and I'm not leaving here without it.
I fear no more. I fear no more. I fear no more. I got God on my side. I got God on mine. I fear no more. I fear no more. I fear no more. Now shut it down. Watch me ball in the holy light.
Who gon' pray for me? Who gon' stay with me? I made a way for you, but who makes a way for me? Who's gonna fight for me? Who's gonna die for me? I'm doing it on my own. Guess this is my destiny. Who gon' pray for me? Who gon' stay with me? I made a way for you, but who makes a way for me? Who's gonna
Yo.
They don't know
Oh
about the dark
my.
nights. All I had was the moon and some cop lights.
Welcome
Always crying in my
everyone
room 'cause
to
my
the
mom
Crusade
fights. Before bed,
Cast.
I would even pray to God twice.
Oh man,
You
it's
were
been a
taking
little
over
bit.
all.
I've been trying to keep up with everything going on with the world today. It's been a little crazy in my opinion, but you can only do so much, unfortunately. But there are a couple of topics that I want to go over, so this episode might not be too long. But let me go ahead and get this big beautiful screen up. Oh yeah, look at that beautiful sexy man right there. Okay, give me 1 second, everybody. I want to make sure that I get that other one off real quick. You guys don't need to see two of me. There we go. Oh man, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Crusade Cast. Obviously, this is your favorite host, the Reaper. And the reason for tonight's episode, we've been taking our time trying to get some information. There are two things that are going on in this world today. So not sure if you guys are familiar, but one of the biggest cases has just been resolved. The Karmelo Anthony case. That case it wasn't on my radar, and if it was, I may have just not remembered it. Because apparently it was a big deal last year when everything happened with Karmelo Anthony, and I think it was Austin Metcalf. So I guess it became a bigger deal because the trials were going on, and it was a pretty quick trial. I mean, I don't think it took that long. Anthony Carmelo was in a he he's been in prison for like a year, I think, or a little over a year, and while he waited for the trial. I don't think that they got him out on bail. However, that's not really a big ordeal because whether they did or they didn't, but I know it's been over a year since he was arrested on murder charges. So, I wasn't going to address this, but it just shocked me with how the community over there, the community that was really behind Anthony Carmelo, really just absolutely amazed me at how stupid and how absolutely buffoons some people don't mind looking. So, for those of you who don't know, Carmelo Anthony was arrested for murder a year ago. I believe it was April of last year. But that's nor here nor there. But he was arrested because he killed Austin Metcalf. Austin Metcalf, and these are two high schoolers. So, what happened, for those of you who are not aware, it was a track meet. So it was they were having competitions. There were other schools that were there. It was according to the information that I have, it was a track meet. And it started to drizzle a little bit. So Anthony Carmelo decides to go under another team's tent, which they've clearly discussed that you don't do. You don't go under another team's tent. That's for that specific team. Every team is supposed to have their own designated area, whether it's under a tent or somewhere else. I'm assuming they all had tents, but Anthony Carmelo decides to go underneath a opposing team's tent. Austin Metcalf, along with a couple of others, were there, and he told him, "Hey, you can't be here." According to witnesses, he probably told him that anywhere between like 10 and 15 times, according to some of the information that I've seen. And Anthony Carmelo refused to leave. To my understanding, based off what I have seen and what I've read, he gave him a nudge, or he slightly pushed him. And here's the thing: even the witness for Anthony Carmelo, according to what I've seen, even stated that the nudge or the slight push was nothing really hard at all. Anthony Carmelo wasn't even budged. He really didn't even step back or bump into anybody else after that nudge. But Anthony Carmelo proceeds to put his hand in his bag to reach for the knife. Doesn't tell anybody, that he has any kind of weapon, anything on him. And instead, he decides to egg on Austin Metcalf. And he says, touch me again, see what happens, or touch me, see what happens, kind of instigating him to touch him. And this is where the issue lies, is that one thing. Because let's just say he had a knife in the bag, and maybe it was against school policy. Maybe it wasn't. According to the law, I don't think it was illegal for him to have it. So regardless of whether or not he had it, it's not, in my opinion, a huge deal. But the part that really screwed Anthony Carmelo, in my opinion, and I honestly think this was it right here, because if he could have done millions of other things to get out of this situation. And what I don't understand about this generation, or maybe it was just Anthony Carmelo, because his family decides to make this about race. And one of the things I have very little tolerance for is when you have murder cases that really have nothing to do with race, but because one side of them is black, the black community in that area decides they're going to make this into a race thing. And it really pisses me off, because I'm actually friends with several black people, and they're awesome people. They're the most respectful, they're the most kind people. I absolutely love them. And then you see this community over there, and you're like, this is nothing like the folks that I associate with. The folks that I associate with are hardworking. They're striving to better their lives. And like I said, they're intelligent and they're kind. So when I see the buffoonery that is going on over there, and that Austin Metcalf's family, or not Austin Metcalf, Anthony Carmelo's family decides to make this about race, instead of looking at the facts. I mean, her son literally stabbed another student in the chest. It's a white kid that was killed. And you don't see the KKK coming out. And I thought this was an absolute disgust. I truthfully believe this is a disgusting family, because they have Black Panthers coming out. They're hiring this speaker who's making everything about race and saying how the system is racist. Maybe in some areas it is. Who knows? I don't know. I don't follow every area. I highly doubt it, because you get a jury of your peers. So I highly doubt the system is racist on that aspect. But what I will say is, in this case, it wasn't racist. In this case, this kid actually killed a person. And I can't believe for the life of me that instead of the parents looking at this and saying, or at least looking at this and saying, man, I probably should keep a low radar. This doesn't look good for my son. I'm not going to make a bigger deal about this. They made a huge spectacle. They raised up, I believe it was around $500,000 or over $500,000. And instead of using, to my understanding from what I've seen, instead of using the majority of the funds for their son's defense, they decide to say, well, due to death threats, which who on God's green earth is going to care about them? But they're like, well, due to threats, they decided to purchase a new home. A beautiful home with the money they raised that was supposed to be for Karmelo Anthony's defense. And they show up in a beautiful car, and they show up in a suit and everything. So in all honesty, I don't think they spent much on Carmelo's defense. I don't think they did. I don't think they spent a lot on Anthony's defense. They're truthfully awful people. I wouldn't be saying this and attacking them the way that I am. It's just the way that they went about it, these people are truly racist. They're truly racist. And I have little tolerance for disgusting behavior, especially when it comes to race. You know, it's people like that who act like that, who make you think like, hey, maybe tribes in this country is a good thing. They spoke to a couple of black people that were there. And the few black people that they talked to, there was one lady that was like, well, I don't care if he's guilty. We got to look out for our own. And I'm like, excuse me? Are you saying that because they're black, you don't care if they kill somebody's kid, that you still want him out? Honestly, this is where it's kind of hard, because, I love the Lord. And I pray for the people like this. But when you see it, it's like your worldly side comes out and is like, I would deport all of these people. I would find the country of origin. Even if they were born in this country, I would find the country of origin from their heritage. I would make a deal. I would grab all the people that are turning this into a disgusting race thing, and I'd just start deporting. I would just start deporting, because it's people like this that give black people such a bad name. I love the black people that are in my life. They're absolutely awesome folks. When you see that, the way that they were acting, absolute travesty. And I'm sorry, I went on a tangent. Let's get back to what I was saying, though, to the case, right? So Karmelo Anthony, I think the moment that really screwed him was when he antagonized Austin Metcalf. Because instead of doing a million other things, maybe yelling for a teacher, yelling because he may have felt threatened, or even just having some common sense. And like, look, I'm in an area I shouldn't belong. Let me just leave. Maybe I don't like how Austin Metcalf is saying it. Okay. Am I going to pull out a knife and kill him? No. I don't know what was going on in this kid's head, and with how his parents were acting throughout the whole thing and how racist they are, it wouldn't surprise me if he was looking for a reason to kill this white kid. Wouldn't surprise me. His parents are incredibly racist. They seem to hate white people. They seem to think that everything's against them. They're typical victims. They're typical people who act like victims. They just raised over $500,000, but they're victims. This is why I have no sympathy for folks that do things like that. Why would I give them sympathy? Why do they deserve sympathy? This is the whole reason why I have to, and I'm sure people like me have to take a deep breath because they just get tired of it. It's just fatigued already. When you hear people scream racism for every little thing, you want to just take a sock, shove it in their mouth, and punch them in the face and say, shut up. Like, we're done with your stupidity. We're just done at you shouting racism for everything. Just like we're done with the Democrats constantly saying you're a bigot and you're a Nazi. Like, come up with something better. Just shut up. If you can't contend with the arguments, shut up. It's absolutely annoying. You can just shut up. These folks, I really strongly, as much as it's like against every fiber of my body, I'm going to pray for the Metcalf's family, and I'm going to pray for the Karmelo family. Because every fiber of my body would love to tell somebody to just slap those people. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, because their son's he's going to be rotting in prison. Or rotting in prison. But I think that's the moment that really screwed Anthony Karmelo. I think Anthony Karmelo, even his friend, when they got him on the stand, the prosecution attorney even got his witness that was for the defense to state that Anthony Karmelo was in the wrong. I'm sorry, but it's very hard for you to justify what he did when he egged him on and then pulled out a knife and stabbed him. Like I said, he could have done 5 million other things. This case got dragged out and made a huge ordeal by these folks, by his parents, and they didn't even put the money that they should have in his defense. If you really want your son to get off, then you pay for great defense for your son, and that costs money. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they didn't just put 10,000. Maybe they didn't just put 20,000. Maybe they did put a substantial amount. Maybe they found a home that was like 300 grand. Maybe they bought a car that was like 50,000. Maybe they spent another 2 to 3 grand on suits and dresses. That's still left over $100 and something thousand. Maybe they spent 60 grand on an attorney. I don't know. From what I've seen, I don't think it was really much. But then again, who's going to have access to how much that, the legal counsel is? But with how the legal counsel was for the defense, it makes you really scratch your head as to he must have been cheap. Either that or he knew that this case was going nowhere. They didn't put Anthony Karmelo they didn't put him on the hot seat at all. This kid is potentially going to jail for 5 to 99 or life, or you could just say to life, and they didn't put him on there at all. Now, why would the attorney not do that? Unless this kid did not feel bad about what he did. He just feels scared because he's going to do prison time. And I'll tell you what, if you can't put him on the stand for whatever reason, maybe he has a quick temper and it's just going to enforce what happened, which is even worse. But for whatever reason, his attorney did not put him on the stand at all, even before sentencing, when they could have put him on the stand so that he could have said something. And it may not be on the stand, but they had a chance to have him come up, and they put his mother, his stupid, racist mother. I'm sorry. For anybody watching this trial was more of a show than anything else, because this is ridiculous. And they decided to give him a sentence that was freaking easy compared to what he should have gotten. I honestly think he should have gotten executed, but that's just because I'm tired of this bullcrap. And in my mind, it's like, I'm tired of people getting away with crimes. It's time that we start getting hardcore on crime so that people actually fear the punishment. Illegals come into this country because they don't fear the punishment. If you execute a few, which I hate to say, because it should never come down to that. We should be able to enforce our borders, but you have an entire other political party that's just like, let them in. Well, then if you're going to let them in, because half the time a Democrat's president, and it's not even a Democrat versus Republican system, it's whoever the overlord is at the time when he's like, okay, we need to have more immigrants come in, illegal immigrants, not immigrants, not people who have been allowed and have been given permission. These are people that have broken the law and they're felons. Well, here's the thing. If you don't incentivize them in a horrific way, they'll keep flooding in. They'll keep flooding in. And I hate, like I said, I hate to even say that. It's gotten to such a bad point where it's like illegal immigration. We need to take a really hardcore and radical stand. We really do. We need to start doing stuff on many different areas. Our politicians, they're not doing what's best for America. They don't care about what's best for America anymore, it seems like. But before I move on, that was everything I wanted to state as far as Anthony Karmelo is concerned. Because Anthony Karmelo, he should have gotten more. His sentence was 35 years. And after he served half of that sentence, he has the option of early parole. That kid should have been locked up for the rest of his life. He killed somebody, and to me, it's not even 100% crystal clear if he did it because he's racist or if he just did it because he wanted to feel like a big shot. But either way, he egged the guy on. He egged the other kid on. He knew damn well what he was getting ready to do, and it wasn't until afterward where he's like, oh, crap, when it started to really sink in that he's going to do probably prison time. Because I don't think for a second he was really crying for Austin Metcalf. I think he was crying because he realized, oh, I effed up. I'm not going to be able to go home. I'm going to go to jail, or I'm going to go to prison for a year, and I'm going to have a trial. And, oh, crap, most of my life might be gone. I think he's crying because of that. I don't think he's crying because he really feels bad about killing Austin Metcalf. His parents are just, you know what? That's enough about Anthony Karmelo. I'm not going to give him too much more time. I had to address it because, to me, the way that they acted was just, it was absolutely disgusting. It was absolutely despicable. And I just can't stand people like that. People like that. Anyways, the next subject for tonight, which is the last subject, is the war. Ladies and gents, America, Iran have been bombing each other. Trump seems to really want to lie to the American public that he's close to a deal. He's like, unless they make a deal, I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. Those were his words. He either said the S word or the F word, but you get the point. This, to me, is a desperate response. This is a desperate response. There's even rumors that Iran may have a nuke, and they may be getting ready to test it. We don't know. But, he seems to think that he's lying to the American people by saying that, oh, they're reaching out to me and they begged me to stop, and I don't really believe it. Maybe he is telling the truth for once. We've seen him lie to Iran I don't know how many times, and I'm not even saying Iran is who I'm voting for here. I have no hardcore feelings about anything that's going on over there other than it never should have started happening. But you guys know my thoughts on this. If you're not going to go all in, if you're not going to put boots on the ground, why the hell are we there? If you're really afraid that they got nukes, put boots on the ground. If he has to start drafting people, and I really don't think Trump's I don't think he's going to win midterms. I really don't. I think that J.D. Vance is going to have to pardon him when he's president. And maybe I shouldn't say this. It's just there's something in the back of my mind that really thinks Trump's going to get impeached. He's going to be taken to trial. He's going to be removed as president, and they're going to try to lock him up. And I actually think they're probably going to succeed. if Trump doesn't get his act together, because he really needs the midterms, unless AIPAC spends a lot of money to buy the elections. If they spend the money to buy the elections, they'll do it. AIPAC's got that kind of money. The American-Israeli lobby, they have that kind of money. So if they buy it, if they buy it out and they rig our elections, yes, then he'll win the House, the Senate, and he'll be able to finish up his term. He'll be able to pardon himself for any kind of crimes that he's done. And when I talk about crimes, I don't mean any of that crap that they were trying to get him for before he was president, because I never followed all that. But I'm talking about how the president doesn't, from what I have read, the president doesn't have the authority to start wars, to declare war. I'm sorry, not start, but to declare war. Congress is the one with that authority. So what he did, according to what I've read, it's illegal. Now, we will find out, because trust me, the Democrats are going to come at him harsh. They're going to come at him as hard as they can. They hate this man with a passion. I nor hate or like Trump. I think he's a means to an end. I think he's a lesser of two evils. I could be wrong. Trump might be doing things behind the scenes that is really for the benefit of America. I don't know. And I don't, without knowing all the facts, you can only really talk about what you know and what's being shared. And you can only form an opinion based off of the facts that you have. Now, if he's doing something else behind the scenes that I don't know, I will be the first to say, Trump, I apologize. I will be the first to say, you know what? I have to take back what I thought, because you're doing great. You did a wonderful job, and I never would have known you were doing all of that. But if these are all the facts that are laid out now, if this is everything, and this is almost 80 to 90% true, everything you're reading, everything that you see, then I'm sorry, Trump, you're losing your constituents, and you're losing it because you started a war and you're trying to get out, but you don't want to look weak. You don't want to look weak, and you're like, oh, they're begging me for a way out. I've been saying it this whole time. You killed, like, I don't know why they would even come and talk to you. You and Israel have been lying to them. Every time this ceasefire crap comes up, somebody breaks the ceasefire. Israel typically, but apparently Israel actually didn't break this ceasefire. Iran has no reason to trust us. They have no reason to negotiate with us. I could not even imagine that they're really coming to the table. I'm sure they're in a rush to get a nuclear weapon. I'm sure they're in a rush to get a nuclear weapon. I can't even fathom that they are not in a rush to get a nuclear weapon. At this point, they're like, and excuse the language, but at this point, if I was the leader of Iran, I would be like, oh, fuck Iran, fuck Israel. I am getting a nuclear weapon as soon as possible. These people are going to learn. You need to know your place. Your place is away from me. Notice how I don't say it's beneath me. Even though Israel, when it comes to Iran, Israel is beneath Iran. Well, militarily, they're beneath Iran. They can't beat Iran unless America backs them. So yes, the country of Israel is beneath Iran. It's because they can't defend that entire area unless we're there. And even with us being there, there's only so much we can do. Our Gulf allies are figuring that out very fast. Very fast. If Israel loses America as an ally, it would not surprise me if in all directions they start getting sieged and they start getting killed. Israel, I think, has been playing a very hard hand. Honestly, I think that they're doing things the right way. They're in enemy territory. Granted, they put themselves there. That's their fault. They put themselves there. But here's the thing. They don't want to play nice with people in that area. And maybe those people never wanted to play nice with Israel. I really don't know. I know that they've hated each other. I know that Iran really wants to kill Israel. I know Israel's surrounded by enemies now, but I don't know if they did something to get that way because Israel has been giving us false information. Israel has been doing a lot of things in that area to piss people off. If we back away and we stop paying Egypt and we stop paying Jordan, Israel is effed. Now, granted, I am a firm believer and you reap what you sow. So if you're reaping nothing but deceit, if you're reaping nothing but betrayal, and you're reaping nothing but bad deeds, that's what you're going to get. I don't believe America should be backing and supporting Israel blindly. I think we should be looking at Israel and saying, look, you guys want our help? I'm willing to talk about it. You guys have done a lot of things. I'm going to put you on a short leash. You guys are going to start realizing who Big Daddy is. And yeah, I'm being a little, I'm just joking around a little bit. But in all honesty, that's what America is to Israel. We're the bigger country. We're the powerhouse. Israel's not a powerhouse. Israel's a tiny country. The minute we back out and we say that we no longer support Israel, they will be cooked. They will be, and no pun intended, because obviously I don't mean it as in Nazi Germany, but they'll be cooked as in the minute we back out and we pull all our support from them and they stop getting funding and they stop getting our weapons and we stop paying Jordan and Egypt, that entire region is going to rain hell on Israel. In all honesty, I think Netanyahu needs to really start looking at things because it's one of two things. Either he's not afraid because the Israeli lobby really owns America and it's too late to come back from, which I know a lot of people are like, well, the newer generation's getting in there. Yes, the newer generation will make a difference if the system is not corrupt and crooked and is not being rigged. That's the thing that people need to understand. If your system's being rigged, if there's somebody already messing with the system to put their people in there, it doesn't matter how many of the new generation come up. If the people who really represent the new generation aren't getting into power because the systems are being rigged, it does you no good. You'll continue to have the same system. This is why, honestly, there are times when I do believe our government is broken. It is not what it once was. I think the American people do need to start rising up. I think we need to really start physically putting people in there that represent us. And sometimes that means tearing down the whole system. Sometimes it means taking a step back and being like, look, anybody tied to Israel, anybody tied to any foreign government, anybody that is not a natural born citizen. And I would say if you're a immigrant, then none of your children can run for office for at least the next 7 to 8 generations. Because a lot of times what we're seeing is we're seeing people getting into political power, and there may be 1 or 2 generations, and their loyalties lie to another country over America. But, I don't want to waver too much. But, everybody, this war I don't think is going to stop. The only way I think this is going to stop is if Iran finally gets a nuke, which I am not thrilled about the idea. But if we really wanted to go in there, because that was such a big threat, we should have put boots on the ground. This is why I didn't agree with Trump's tactic in the first place. He had intel telling him that's not going to happen without boots on the ground. So, okay, why didn't you put boots on the ground? He didn't have my support for this war to begin with. But at least if you put boots on the ground and you were going all out, then maybe I could say, okay, he must really believe what he's saying. Or Israel has him really good in the pocket to where he's doing that. But either way, the reason why I believe it's more the Israel angle is because Trump is not putting boots on the ground. Imagine if a country that was such a threat to your country states that, you find out that they're on the verge of having a nuclear weapon. Now, apparently they've been on the verge for 30 to 40 years, but that's no point. That's not here nor there. But imagine if you really think that they're on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon, they are really on the verge of being able to kill you. Why would you not go in there in full force? Or maybe is it that Israel was telling Trump, hey, I'm going to start a war. You're bought and paid for. You're going to come in. And Trump said, look, I'll go in, but it's going to be limited. I'll give you missile support. I'll give you air support. I'll give you what limited I can do. I'll do negotiations. But as far as putting boots on the ground, I'm not going to do it. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. I'm not sure how you guys feel. Please comment, subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed the video. But I would really like to hear from anybody. Let me know what your thoughts are. I know I got a little dark tonight as far as, we need to deport some people or we need to make an example of, some of the illegal immigrants that are coming here so that people will stop. That's really a worldly perspective. And, the Christian side of me is like, look, I want to do things diplomatic. I want to do things reasonably. The worldly side is like, look, I understand human nature. Humans are incentive based, they're reward and punishment based. So why do you go to work? Well, because you need to afford to make a living, you want to feed your family, you want to afford, decent stuff, so you go to work. And what's your incentive for working? You make money. What are some of these inventors' incentive to go and continue to, what's the word? Innovate and continue to create new things. It's the rewards that come with it. Well, if the incentive-based system is true, then the punishment-based system is just as true. How do you stop people from doing things that they shouldn't be doing? Well, you give them punishments. Why are people not going around killing 5 million other people? Because you go to prison. That's been a good enough sentence or a good enough incentive as far as not committing crimes. But what's happening is illegals don't care. And a lot of times they've been here for over 10 years. They haven't gotten a citizenship. And we're just going to deport them. Well, guess what? They know how to come here. And I don't think it's fair that they go to our prisons and they do their time in our prisons where we have to feed them and we have to spend tax dollars. So what is the only thing that we can really do to teach illegal immigrants? You need to stop, and we're not joking anymore. It is a sad reality that we've gotten to this point, but the Democrats need to stop opening that damn border. We have the death penalty for a reason. Now, granted, it's usually for more severe things, but the goal in doing these incredibly outrageous acts is to show people that if you're coming to this country illegally, that your life is on the line. So you really better think twice about it. Look, we have spots for them to come in for asylum. So if you really are legitimately in need of asylum, you come through those spots. You don't just come in here, nothing happens to you, we send you back, and then you come right back in. Like, it's just illogical. It's stupid. We need to enforce our laws, people. You cannot be a country that is civilized if you're not enforcing your laws. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. And like I said, I know it's a little bit of a darker view. I don't suggest that lightly. It's not something that I'm jumping for joy. Like, yeah, let's do it. Like, no, I'm not jumping for joy for that. But when I was a kid, how do I know I did something bad? I'd get punished. When I did something good, I'd be rewarded. These are basic things that you do with your kids to teach them how to live in a civilized society. But we're not doing that with our laws. We're not doing that to make examples out of certain people that are coming through. If we find an illegal and he happens to be a drug mule, execute him. But don't say you don't just say, well, we're doing this just because he's a drug mule. Say that, look, he happens to be a drug mule, but he's an illegal immigrant that came here. He's been here a couple of times. I'm sorry. We're not going to keep doing this vicious cycle. And this way, you're only eliminating the real scumbags, but you're sending a message to all of those other illegal immigrants that aren't, or illegal people, however you want to call them, I'm going to stick with illegal immigrants, but then you're sending a message to the other illegal immigrants. Hey, you really need to start thinking whether or not your life is worth this risk. And I guarantee you, most of them will stop crossing illegally, and they will start going into these ports of entry where they can seek asylum the proper way. Look, nobody's against immigrants coming into this country. I just want to enforce our laws, and the thing is our system's not working. Maybe there's a better way to do it than what I just suggested. You see, I'm so used to the carrot and stick approach that the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, if the carrot doesn't work, because let's face it, Trump's done a very good job giving a carrot. He's like, look, if you self-deport now, we'll give you a way to come in legally, and we're going to give you like $2,000, and we're going to pay for your flight. He's literally giving them the carrot approach. But for all the people who aren't taking the carrot approach, the stick approach is going to be a lot more preferential. But the problem is the stick approach that we have is just to, when we catch them, deport them. So we need to figure something out. My worldly side says to do that. My Christian side is like, look, we need to find a way to do this peacefully. We need to find a way to come up with some sort of law that they're going to hate so much that illegals are not just going to flood our streets. They're really going to want to come in here through the ports of entry. But unfortunately, I don't know how. So if anybody has any thoughts or ideas, please share. I would love to know your ideas. I'd love to know your thoughts and go from there. But anyways, guys, it has been a fun conversation. It's been a fun, for lack of better wording, it's been fun sharing my thoughts with you guys. Please let me know what you think. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh. Maybe my worldly side is being a little too harsh when it comes to certain views, and that's perfectly fair. Because I've been telling you my worldly side and my Christian side, and these two are constantly fighting. Constantly. Granted, my Christian side wins out more often than not, I like to think, but it's a struggle. But anyways, please share your thoughts. Let me know if I'm being a little too radical. It could be. I'd love to talk to you guys and kind of go over my thoughts. So anyways, you have a wonderful night. This is the Crusade Cast. Out.